Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the February 17th, 2026 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 17th, 2025, setting forth the schedule of meetings for the year 2025-2026. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised this meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream provided is for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience. On February 4th, 2026, public notice and Zoom instructions for this meeting were published in the Herald News and posted on the City of Passaic website, www.cityofpassaic.com, council agendas. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello,
Present.
Councilman Mayor,
Present.
Councilman Garcia,
Present.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Present.
and Council President Scheer.
President, shall we all please rise?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to meet this evening, Father God. We ask you to please guide us in the decisions that will take place this evening. In your beloved name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're such a
Good evening, and thank you all who are with us tonight for joining with us. Copies of the agenda are located immediately outside the council chambers. You can also access everything that's been distributed to the members of the council for tonight's meeting through the city's website. At this point, we have a very special presentation.
I don't believe the student is here. I know the calendar is up. Council President, on behalf of our administration and the city council, perhaps for extenuating circumstances or some conflict of schedule, the student and the family aren't here, but later on, if they arrive, I just want to let the record show that we have a certificate on behalf of the city for our student Denise Leckie in the city of Passaic in recognition of her achievement, or of their achievement rather, the 2026 July month winner in the 30th annual Passaic County poster calendar contest selected among students from 17 different municipalities. I, Hector C. Laura, as mayor, along with our city council, commend their America 250th artwork and congratulate them on proudly representing the city of Passaic. As you can see right up there, 250th anniversary. They chose to honor our city's efforts in recognizing the 250th anniversary of the United States of America in their design, and they were the winner and included in the county contest. Again, they're not present, but we'll make sure to get this to their families or the school on behalf of our administration and the city council.
Very good. Mayor, in case the family does come a little bit late, I don't know if your schedule permits you to stay this meeting.
Yeah.
If you have to, should we send them to your office?
Yes.
Very good.
I'm sure we'll stay, and if they don't make it, we'll definitely get it to them.
Very good. Thank you, sir. With the council's permission, if we can be on the agenda, please, Roman numeral 5, hearing of citizens. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit or prohibit or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias, intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. The council welcomes participation of the public in our meeting tonight and all nights. We ask if you'd like to address the council that you do so, and bear in mind that we ask everyone to keep their remarks limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Joshua Goldman. I live at 185 High Street. Today I'm here to address a motion that was passed, or a resolution that was passed at the last City Council meeting on February 3rd. The Council voted to recommend that the Planning Board evaluate whether an assemblage of land on Orchard Street in Westerveld Place should be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. According to the business administrator at that meeting, such designation was necessary so that the city could begin negotiating with the property owner over possible redevelopment options. Taking the business administrator's word, this implies that no potential alternatives have been put forth by the developer or the city at this time. Accordingly, the public was cautioned that until such time as an ordinance is proposed, there is nothing to get excited about, and we'll have an opportunity for such proposal to be fairly vetted at that time. However, if in fact no proposal has been discussed yet, then why would the city jump the gun by declaring the area in need of redevelopment? There are actual costs in conducting the state-required studies, and should the developer propose an ordinance that does not pass, then the city would be on the hook for those costs, something it can hardly afford after $60,000 in unexpected snow removal costs. For that reason alone, it would be worth waiting until a developer has suggested a plan that has merit and is likely to succeed before proceeding. Which brings me to my next point. Such designation was touted as being able to push forward a compromise solution for the property owner and better protect the constituents. But that aspect greatly misses the mark. Further statements by the VA that the owner had already made a compliant application for the property don't follow the reality. If we take the VA's assessment as fact, then why would the owner need a redevelopment area designation in order to pursue the property owner's project? The property owner can certainly pretend that they're paying that they're accommodating the constituents' interest by chopping a floor or two or adding some parking spots within the current zoning. The only value a designation can bring at this point is to give the applicant what she could not get in front of the planning board, a compliant project, by relaxing various rules governing all of us that our project violated. Which brings me to my main point. Regardless of any debate around the actual ordinance, designating the parcels as an area in need of redevelopment at this time cuts off the needs of the constituents and hurts any bargaining power they would have with the developer. To put it absolutely clearly, it is not helpful to our cause, and if the council approves the area in need of redevelopment designation, it is hurting our cause. Taking this project out of the box of the zoning code into a discretionary action is only a step that could be taken after a humble developer has been forced to propose a development that provides benefit to the community. The first move needs to be the developers, not ours. And a carrot, such as the redevelopment area, is an incentive that should only be offered to her after she finds compromise. That sequence would utilize the powers of the designation to encourage responsive development. Letting the property owner propose an ordinance on their own that will be hotly contested forces the city council into the undesirable position of choosing sides. The city council should not sanction the Trojan horse set forth by asking for a procedural step at this time of designating the area as an area in need of redevelopment. The city council should pass a motion to rescind that authorization to the planning board to explore the designation until such time as a framework has been agreed upon, or at least is closer to agreed upon by the relevant parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Manuel. I live at 177 High Street. I'm here to address the council about a resolution 2 weeks ago, which directing the planning board to make a recommendation regarding the area around Orchard Street and Westerveld Streets. From what my concern is that this doesn't not really an area of redevelopment. I remember when the St. Mary's Hospital came up as a redevelopment. That was an empty building, half a city block was sitting empty for years. And I understood the city, and we all wanted something to be there instead of an empty shell of a building. I don't think the properties that are part of this plan are empty right now. They're all developed. Some may need to be fixed over or fixed up, but they're all there. They're all just, and because they took this plan, they brought it to the planning board. They quickly withdrew it because it needed a lot of variances and so on, even though they said they didn't need it. And they decided to go this route. This is not really in the interest of the city inhabitants. For example, when they wanted to bring their project, we all got notice. This is going to go without notice. No one got noticed about this. And once it goes to redevelopment, we certainly don't get notice. The board can do basically whatever they want within, whatever they feel is good. So again, I'm just here to concern that this is not something which would be good for the city, and I would like the city council to take back the recommendation that this should go to the planning board, to redevelopment zone, I'm sorry.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fernandez, as a matter of clarification, the gentleman noted that notice does not need to be given to affected.
So it's given to the affected property, which is, in this case, the handful of parcels that are going to get designated. So that's the requirement for the designation.
Is that 200 feet? Is that?
No, it's the actual lots that are being, we're talking about the designation, right?
No.
Yeah. What notice? Okay. I just want to be clear. All the discussions right now have been for the designation. Under the designation, we have to notice the responsible part, the party that's going to be included in the study. That's it, because those are the ones that are getting immediately affected by this designation. So that's how the law is written.
And how does one get to be the designated?
Oh, there's many different ways that it ends up being, but there's basically two ways you could be designated. It's either in need of rehabilitation, which is the route this one's going, or an area in need of redevelopment. And there's statutory criteria that each of them would
When
have
you
to
say
meet.
statutory, what does that mean?
The state of New Jersey, under the local housing and redevelopment law, gives us a framework in which a property can or cannot be designated an area in need of redevelopment. If they don't meet the criteria, they won't be eligible to be one or the other. So it's all listed, and we have to go with what direction we want to go and show, that they comply with the state law.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Excuse me, if you could bring the microphone a bit closer, thank you.
Is that better? Okay. My name is Razel Azer. I live at 36 Orchard Street. 2 weeks ago, the City Council passed a resolution directing the Planning Board to make a recommendation regarding an area around Orchard and Westerville Streets as an area in need of redevelopment. I request the City Council should pass a resolution withdrawing that direction, as such recommendation is premature. Not discussed at the council meeting 2 weeks ago was the cost of the planning board making such a recommendation, which is done by hiring an outside consultant, which cost is paid by the city. But should no redevelopment occur, then such costs will be unrecoverable. In addition to the financial cost, there is, of course, the investment of time as well. But since, at its word, no ordinance has yet been discussed, the city council has no way to weigh the likelihood of passing an ordinance that results in the redevelopment area accomplishing its goal and whether it's worth the investment. Not only will the zoning parameters dictate whether the city council may be willing to pass an ordinance, but perhaps other properties will need to be included in the redevelopment area, necessitating a do-over and having wasted resources by jumping the gun. Similarly, perhaps the redevelopment area will require the possibility of eminent domain, which according to state law, such possibility must be incorporated within the resolution to the planning board in order to be available. Given that many of the concerns with the property today are due to the condition the property owner maintains it in, eminent domain would seem like a very real possibility if the city is genuinely concerned with seeing redevelopment occur. There's not to say that such a move is required, but if the business administrator said on the record that this resolution just opens the possibility of negotiations, then isn't it premature to narrow those negotiations? By voting to approve the resolution without even debating these potential missing pieces, the city council might not have realized that the vote was premature and may end up wasting money. All of these considerations make it clear that the city council should withdraw its resolution until such time as it has gained a workable framework between the property owner, the constituents, and the administration so that at that time, it can make the investment of declaring the area in need of redevelopment with the knowledge of what should be included in the designation and with a reasonable assumption that such investment will be repaid.
Thank you.
So, Council President, there seems to be some a disconnect on the process.
Perhaps you could give us some understanding.
So this is the first step for us to be able to do all the things that have been listed here by the residents, right? So what happens is by doing a designation, it allows us to enter into an interim developers agreement to recuperate all the costs for the study and also the cost of the preparation for a redevelopment plan to be brought before this council and to the public, right? So to get us to where we need to be to actually have those conversations and not cost any money, we need the designation. That gives us the authority to enter into this interim agreement to get our costs recuperated and the cost of doing a plan. So if the council decides to vote it down, right, or to amend it, the costs aren't incurred by the municipality, they're incurred by the developer. So I just wanted to make that clarity. And then all the designation does is allows us to have the preparation of a plan that can be reviewed and discussed by all parties and decide whether this is a plan that, we want, don't want, or go another route. And to clarify my statements from last meeting, when you are at a planning board for site plan approval, right, it is because you've met the requirements of that section of the code. That's why you're before a planning board. Now, if there's questions on how it was calculated, whether the height was one way or another, that's all worked out at the planning board's discussion and meeting, right? But you're at a planning board because you are compliant with that section of the code. That's why you're before the planning board. Now, if it ends up being that something happened and the calculations were incorrect, or somebody brings something different, and they have to either amend the plan or they may end up at a zoning board, that would have happened with the original plan that was submitted. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record, and how my statement and why the statements were the way they were. You don't go to a planning board unless you comply with the section of the code.
Thank you, Councilman Mayo.
For clarification, I think you mentioned this at the last meeting. There's another route that this developer can take. We go to putting together whatever plan they want, and then going before zoning or planning, depending on which route it would take. Why is one better than the other, and what's the difference between them? I think for clarification purposes.
So since we're going to be open and very clear, because I think everyone that's here was at that meeting, because I remember your faces. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Right now, they have a route to go and made an application. That application, there were concerns with that application. So to surmise, the easiest way I could say, one isn't better than the other. One gives the council more control over the other. That's really what it is. So it's not, the council could say, I want the same exact plan, right? Not that I think that'll happen, but it's just a different process. To have more control over the process would be the redevelopment route, because it has to go it doesn't just go to a planning board, it doesn't just go to a zoning board, it goes to the council first before it goes to the planning board in this case, with whatever negotiating item. So the easiest way I could put it, there's no negotiation under the ordinance, right? You go to the planning board, you have to come in whether they're conforming or non-conforming. You have to go to the planning board or the zoning board. There's no negotiations. It is what it is. Under a redevelopment plan, right, you have those discussions to get something that may be more acceptable to all involved.
And what would the cons be by going this route? What would be the pros for the developer, say, by going through the redevelopment route versus going to the zoning or planning route?
I guess the pro would be they know what they're getting into, right? What they're proposing. You know, that you'll come in knowing that as long as I meet this criteria, I don't have to go to a zoning board.
If they were going to go in front of zoning and planning, opportunities for the public to comment. How many?
That still happens under redevelopment. I know that everyone's saying that happens during redevelopment. You got to remember, a site plan is always required. So in perspective, the original application went for site plan approval, right? That's where everybody got noticed and everybody was able to speak. Under a redevelopment plan, right? Once the ordinance passes, they have to go to another site plan and everybody gets noticed and everybody has an opportunity to speak. That part of the planning process stays the same. The only difference is that instead of it being a zoning ordinance for the city area or the city as a whole, it's a zoning ordinance for that group of parcels. So you have more control over what you're allowing and not allowing in that group of parcels. So it's one or the other. I could tell you right now that based on the conversations, the number of units and the height and what's already permitted as a conditional use, right, I can almost guarantee would far exceed what the redevelopment plan is going to be. So if you're only looking at it for mere size of units, then just staying the course and going under the conditional use route that they were in, right, would have given them more units, right, and a much bigger development than what we're anticipating the negotiations to be after hearing the public, right, that the plan that would be before this board to consider, right? So remember, the original plan was upwards of 200 units.
Height restrictions are not under the site plan, the previously submitted plans, there was no height restrictions. This new ordinance can restrict
Yes.
height. Okay.
Yes.
Can
And
restrict
uses.
Can restrict uses and setbacks.
Yes.
The opportunities for the public to comment, from what I understand, is first reading, second reading, site plan approval at zoning, and then.
Okay, so
and then the second.
when do the public gets to comment? The open public comment is on the second reading of the ordinance, right? They'll have an opportunity to have heard the planning board, to see, because remember, when you go to the planning board, they're only going to look at if it's consistent with the master plan. But they'll get to hear how it's consistent or inconsistent. Then it comes back for a public hearing for the ordinance. So they have an opportunity to speak on the ordinance, right? So let's say whatever it is passes, okay? Now that developer has to grab that plan and develop a site plan based on that plan with the heights that the council approved, the setbacks the council approved, right? And
Sorry
then
for
go
interrupting.
to the
Before you
planning.
even get there, there's 2 times that the public can get up at a council meeting and discuss that ordinance.
Yes.
And then as well as.
Yeah, but the public hearing, so they can do what they just did.
Correct.
Every single meeting that they want up to the hearing, but then they get an additional time to speak specifically on the ordinance when the public hearing happens for the second and final reading. And then after that, a plan has to be developed, just like you do in a zoning ordinance, that complies. Then that'll go to the planning board where everyone's going to get the 200-foot radius notice and be able to have the same conversations they had at any planning board meeting, for that matter. It doesn't matter. They're going to have the same opportunity to discuss it. The public will just know ahead of time, in this case, kind of like, okay, this is the plan that was approved by the council, so they understand. Just no different than right now, because I know there was a question on the height, right? And how they calculate the height versus the public, right? If that issue comes up again, they can still do the exact same thing they did the first time because they don't feel that it complied with the redevelopment plan. So it's the only difference is you're writing an ordinance just for those specific sites and you're limiting whatever you want to limit, or you're giving whatever you want to give. It's really up to the council once we bring the plan to you. Yes.
Thanks.
Anyone else that would like to address the council?
Leah Zimmerman, 101 Westerville. My house is right behind, and I guess the project is right behind my house. So last time we came and we met, it sounded like there was some sort of incentive to the developer to make a change in her plans. Although that wasn't shared with us what it was. It was like some sort of secret. And here we are a few months later, we have no idea what the plans are. On top of that, if we really care about what the residents need, we don't need more apartment buildings, we need houses. All you have to do is look on Zillow and see how the price of the houses in Passaic, very dumpy old houses that need to be fixed up, are way above market price because there's a lack of housing in the area. So if we really want to help the people, let's make houses for them instead of apartments. I don't know much about redevelopment, but it sounds to me like it's something that's going behind our backs to come up with a plan that might not work for us. And that's what I have to say. I just hope that, that we don't end up with more apartments and help the people with what we really need.
Mr. Fernandez. So the lady spoke of, and I know there are some people who join with her in their concern, and have asked the same question. Why are we talking about apartments? Shouldn't we be talking about single-family housing?
Yeah. So the discussions thus far, and the reason we haven't openly discussed them, as you know, Council President, at the attorney's advice, when you're in the middle of a negotiation, you don't go ahead and start sharing the negotiation out in public, right? But there were concerns about owner occupancy and ownership, right? So there are discussions of no high rises and discussions of possible townhouses and things in that vein. But if I sat here and I said, oh, there's going to be, 10 single families, 50 townhouses, I can't do that right now because we're not at that point yet. But I can tell you that the discussions are to make it owner occupancy for the large majority of the project.
I'm fine. I'm good. Well, in fact, let me come back. So how is that decided upon? How is it decided upon that there will be X units, Y units? Who makes those determinations? And the other question I've had overall, someone owns this property. Do they have any rights here?
They do. So to answer your question, in the briefest way possible, the council makes that decision.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may, perhaps if we can just go to one of the statements that was made, we need more houses and not apartments. The person who owns the property comes in with a plan. They'll buy a property. The city can say, we think your investment would be better served by building a house.
Yes.
They don't necessarily agree. Then what happens? Can we compel them to build a home?
No. So
if perhaps you can speak a little bit to that.
So Council President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, so it's her property. They can decide to use the ordinance as they will, right? So if they wanted to continue the process with the code, they're allowed to do that. If they didn't want to do that and they wanted to build something different and end up at a zoning board, that's their right as well. Because
So at best, this is a fluid discussion.
yes,
There's much to be discovered and much to be learned.
yeah. So the draft. If the question is how does the draft come into place? Well, it's between a discussion on what's in the area, allowed in the area, right, and what the proposal of the owner is, which is their right. Like we could sit there and tell the owner we want it to be 10 units and 10 units only, and they're like, no, I want 60 units, and that's their right to do that. Under a redevelopment process, if the council votes no, right, then they'd have to find a different route. They couldn't use the redevelopment process. They'd have to go through the zoning board or through the planning board and avail themselves of that. So, I mean, that's the difference. But the way that the draft plan comes in is with what the proposal is from the developer and what the restrictions are in the areas, right? So if a townhouse is typically 3 stories and they come out a 5-story townhouse, then the discussion is that's not permitted. Anywhere in the city of Passaic, a townhouse is 3 stories, that's what's permitted. You're going to get a townhouse at 3 stories because it would be out of character in the whole city of Passaic to have a 5-story townhouse. I'm using that example just to paint a picture of how the draft comes before the council, and then obviously the council has questions, and I try to answer them as best I can with how it ended up the way it ended up.
Is there any feeling for how long this process takes to reach fruition?
It really depends on, the negotiations and how willing the developer is to come off of some numbers. I can't sit here until the plan actually comes before us and we get to see how out of character it is.
Thank you. Mayor?
The other thing I was going to share, Council President, to qualify is I think it really depends on good faith negotiations, and I want to stress good faith. What the business administrator was articulating, I think he did that quite effectively, is that obviously there is an expectation that the city would negotiate in good faith, would explain that if there are specific restrictions the developers made aware of beforehand. If there are expectations, whether from the council, if there are concerns from the community, those things will be shared. But obviously, those who are investing, they come with their professionals. They have attorneys, they have architects, they have individuals who read the laws as well. And I think to a great extent, this process is a necessary one because we hear from the residents. The council then, as you have done throughout this process, and applications prior will come to administration and say, perhaps we need to revisit our approach for the future. We understand what may be allowed today, but what is allowed today perhaps worked for up to this point. And every day prior, and maybe looking in the future, we may want to revisit and look how we can update ordinances, change them, considering how the market and the interest and the impact on the community, all of these factors become extremely important. But I think to your question, in terms of a timeline, it becomes a challenge when those who are coming to the table do not perceive that the city is negotiating in good faith. If the intention is to impede process or to try to get them to move away from something that perhaps an investor feels they have a right to, that becomes a challenge. So we have to take the most objective position as possible. And that's why these meetings become so important. And I commend the residents who come in and they express their concerns to the council because, as the business administrator shared, even in the process that some may be more concerned, it ensures that check and balances beyond just our boards, planning and zoning and redevelopment, that the council is involved and can say, hey, I'm a little concerned that we're moving forward on this. Let's revisit it. So I just wanted to share that it's hard to say we'll be done in a month because no matter what plan comes up, I mean, there may be one, and I had a very good conversation with a resident in the city that would bring up concern of height or how many units. And then another resident might say, okay, but how about the entrance and exit to the development, and where will the traffic come out? Will it come out this side of the street? Will it come out the other side of the street? They might not care so much about the units if that was resolved as much as the traffic or the volume of traffic and the impact it will have on the neighborhood. So it's conditional, and it typically goes more than just 1 month or a couple of meetings. So we may be having these conversations for the next couple of months, or by some remarkable turn of circumstances, everyone will find a reason to agree within a month and it'll be done. So I just want to qualify that a little bit more.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Love, please.
Yes, thank you. And I concur with the mayor, with citizens coming out and voicing their opinion about this plan and this ordinance. But I was looking at, I heard we talk about the pros for a developer. There may be some cons for a developer as well, going through the redevelopment or the designation. And that could be, Mayor, you touched on it. It can be something like we wanted to do a different route, but because of the negotiations, we're kind of limited. And a developer may decide, you know what, I'd rather take my chances than going in front of the redevelopment board because there's some stipulations and some laws that allow me probably to do more than the negotiations allow me. So this is one of those things where I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, business administrator, this is just a plan to start the conversation, rather than saying, okay, we're going to do this. Am I correct?
So that's not, it's not even a plan.
Yeah.
It's a designation
Mhm.
to allow the discussions of a plan. So in the state,
And that was the term.
yeah, in the state law, you have to have a designation before you can discuss having a redevelopment plan. You can't have one without the other, so you have to have the designation, which is, this is the process, so that you can have the discussions to develop the plan. If not, they can just use the underlying zoning until that point.
Exactly. Okay. So, and that's the point that I wanted to make. Maybe I didn't articulate it right, that there's nothing taking place at this point
Nothing
with
but
this
designation.
designation, right?
It just says, it'll just say, does this property meet the need or not based on the statute? So does it qualify or does it not qualify? If it qualifies, then we go to the plan stage.
Okay.
Where the real discussions happen. This is just saying, yes, it complies with the code, so we can move to the next step, which is the actual plan, which I think is what everybody's anxiously
Yes.
awaiting to see.
Okay.
Is there any concern, Mr. Fernandez, that the city is being, for lack of another term, outgunned? The potential developer is so much more sophisticated with deep pockets, and the city is at a disadvantage in that regard?
No. Not even close.
Not even close. Okay. Councilwoman Miller, please.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So just so I can have a clear understanding. So this area was designated in need of redevelopment, which comes to the council, right? Gives the council more of an opportunity to be more fully involved. That's one of the ways, correct?
Yeah, so through the whole process, the council's
There's-
involved. So what happens now is on March 4th,
Mhm.
we go before the planning board, so everybody's welcome to come on March 4th, or the first March meeting for the planning board, March 5th, I'm sorry.
The council?
No, planning board. And they're gonna say
I'm sorry, for the record, what date is that?
4th. It
March
should
4th.
be, yeah, let me just double check. It's a Wednesday. March 4th. It's March 4th, where the planning board's gonna see if it complies or doesn't comply. Right? It complies, it comes back on March 5th for your council meeting saying the planning board says it complies, and you have to pass a resolution formally designating it an area in need. So that'll be, let's say, March 5th. Let's just play out. So March 5th, that happens. My hope is that the developer's working on some plan based on the comments from everyone and the city's comments to up a portion of ownership throughout this, not just condos, but like townhouses or homes that people can buy. And then whenever that happens, there's a plan that's proposed, a draft, and then we start negotiating until we get somewhere that can be to a point that it can be presented where, that's it. It comes before the board, the council. The council then would review that plan for all the things we just talked about, and everybody, I'm sure they're going to hear from everyone from this point on. And then once that ordinance passes, it goes through 2 readings, right? You introduce it. It goes for a master plan consistency review to the planning board. And then it comes back for second and final reading for a public hearing where the public gets to talk on the ordinance, not the site plan. Okay, so whatever happens on that hearing, if the ordinance passes, a plan still has to be developed, a real plan, not a plan in name, because that's basically an ordinance. A real development plan needs to be then created that goes to the planning board, that the members of the public will get noticed, and they can also be, at that point, also speaking to the planning board regarding the application and its consistency or inconsistency with the ordinance the council passed.
If in fact this proposal, whatever proposal it evolves to be, is on March 4, and it is the recommendation of the planning board that it then go to the council for the council's deliberation. If the council's meeting the next day, that doesn't suggest very significant deliberation on the council's part, but
So-
rather simply accepting the recommendation.
So it's It's just whether it checks the boxes or not. So we're looking at a designation way beyond what it is, right? A designation is very basic. Does it meet this or doesn't it? Right? So I'll give you an example. To be an area in need of rehabilitation, and you only need to meet one of these items. Is the housing stock in the area older than 50 years? So we look at our census tract. If most of the houses are older than 50 years, you're designated. If, let's say, no, the houses are younger. Okay. Does your infrastructure, does the sewer pipes, right, are they older than 50 years? If the answer is yes, check. They get it, right? So those are the two simplest ones in Passaic because our homes and our sewer system is older. So that's an area in need of rehabilitation, which does not have eminent domain. To rise to the level of eminent domain requires so much more that I don't know if this parcels in this specific area would even rise to the level of that type of designation, right?
Just as a matter of history and without wanting to prejudice the discussion, it's my understanding that the city of Passaic has never instituted eminent domain. Is that right?
One time.
One time.
And it's 663 Main Avenue, and that was because the owners were defaulting on everything and were non-existent owners. Was the only time that I can recall in recent history, and that recent history is still over 20 years almost, that we had to do eminent domain just once, that I know of since I've been here 27 and a half years.
Very good. I believe we have Councilman Monk.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Council President. I would just like to add that I could say that's over 30 years that we only one time that we used eminent domain, and that was 663.
That's it, yes.
All right. I just want to comment that the redevelopment designation is a great tool to use, especially for a city like the city of Passaic. When you have a community where you go block after block, and it's all the same type of structures and very similar sized lots, it's very easy for a city to write zoning ordinances that fit every parcel, that fit every block. However, as we all know in Passaic, every block is different, right? You have odd sized lots. We have apartment buildings. We have commercial buildings smack in the middle of residential areas. It's impossible for a city to write zoning ordinances that will fit that will fit every block and every lot. And because of that, many times you'll have lots that give the owners rights to build something that will not necessarily fit for that immediate area, as many have expressed with this lot itself, based on the zoning that was in place. So for an owner to go with such a lot where it just doesn't fit, it's an odd size, it could be extra deep, whatever it is, for an owner to go before a planning board to get approvals, typically an owner will throw everything that they have, will use all the rights they have, because there's no negotiation. They have to make an application before a board, and it's either yes or no. So they will just go use all the rights they have by right, and typically is what's in their application. I'll give you an example. The old St. Mary's Hospital. By right, the owner of the property could have built 200, if I remember correctly, Mr. Fernandez, I think around 280 or even more apartments by right, based on size. But by putting it into a redevelopment area, they gave the city the ability to create its own zoning that would be more adaptable for that immediate area. So so for a city like Passaic, using this tool typically is beneficial for the community and for everyone at large. Thank you.
Which is, Council President, to the point when the previous speaker had shared about redevelopment, perhaps having some kind of, without the exact description verbatim, along the lines of perhaps there's some negotiation or some deal being made behind anyone's back. It's the actual opposite. It's where you can most bring up the concerns of the residents in the area and the concerns of the council.
Yeah, in this case,
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mayor. In this case, we actually have the luxury that we had a whole planning board hearing on a separate application for the same exact size, where we got to hear a lot of those comments, right, throughout the hearing process. So when we're negotiating, that's a record that we have. So a lot of times that doesn't happen. And in this case, we have that on top of everyone coming forward week after week. So that, just so everybody knows, where's the baseline? Well, we're lucky now that we have a baseline that started with a planning board hearing that went on for several weeks, months, because the planning board only meets once a month.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time?
Good evening. My name is Desiree Briani. I live at 37 Orchard Street.
If we could ask you to put the microphone a little bit closer to you. Yes,
No
thank you.
problem. 2 weeks ago, the City Council passed a resolution directing the Planning Board to make a recommendation regarding an area around where I live, around Orchard and Westervelt Streets, as an area in need of redevelopment. The City Council should pass a resolution withdrawing that direction, as such a recommendation is misplaced. A redevelopment area is a great tool that can incentivize a property owner to redevelop a property that is otherwise not serving the interests of the community through a combination of zoning bonuses, tax regulations, relaxed regulations, and our tax incentives that can pave the way for a higher and better use. The city is correct in that most people would look at the current use at Orchard and Westervelt and desire something else. But declaring it an area in need of redevelopment completely misidentifies the problem with the current land use. Approximately 70 years ago, a politically connected developer constructed an approximately 30-unit apartment building at a location that simply couldn't support it. Sounds familiar? The building is located on Orchard Street, which is only 1 block long and not even wide enough to meet the state requirements of a street. Orchard Street, in turn, can only be accessed by a narrow one-way street and a 1 block long street. Had the site been properly vetted at the time, the failure of the specific site to be able to handle this much density would have prevented the current building from having been built. So if anything, the undesirability of the current use is due to the burden it has placed on surrounding infrastructure for 70 years. The solution opened up by a redevelopment area, incentive the developer to build even more. Adding even greater density would only further burden the area, which was never appropriate for the buildings that are already there. Whether or not the architecture or maintenance of the building are attractive can be changed at any time and speaks to ownership. Imagine a quiet residential neighborhood has a historic gas station operating at its heart. Would anyone suggest that replacing the old station with a new 7-Eleven would solve the community's problem? Or would it just increase the actual burden while putting on a new facade? But somehow, that is the solution that would be on the table by declaring this an area in need of redevelopment. Until such time as the administration has a plan in hand that actually has a redevelopment plan that solves the burden the current use places on the city, it is wasting its time and our money pursuing this designation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fernandez, the lady referenced a property 7 years ago, 30 units. Do you?
On Orchard Street, the only thing that's there is the property in question that has a multifamily that's been there for 1 million years. That thing's older than I am. So I'm unfamiliar with the 30-unit building.
Ma'am, could you help us identify the 30-unit building you mentioned?
Yeah, so that's something that's been on Orchard Street for a very, very long time. That's
Very
that
long,
building.
very long.
It's the same site, and it's a multifamily building that's been there. I mean, the design of it, I have to check the date, but that thing looks like it's from the 60s or 70s. I don't know. Yeah, maybe 80s. I don't know, but it's definitely not. It's definitely been a while since that building's been built. 1962. Thank you, Mr.
I know it,
Santana. 1962.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to give clarity to your remarks, which appear not to be the case from what we're learning. Is there anyone else who would like to address?
If I may, I just want to ask the business administrator to clarify. I think she stated the speaker had stated that the designation would allow for a greater density, and I just want the business administrator to clarify that.
Yeah. So the designation would just designate it, and the plan. And I think Councilman Monk reiterated the point the mayor and I have been making, that using the example of Old St. Mary's, they could have fit in that building 280 units, and it ended up being 148 units because of the redevelopment process. So to assume it's going to be more units is actually not accurate.
Good. Thank you.
The opposite. It could be
It'd
less.
be right. And considering the proposal that was originally there, which was actually, it's eerily similar, 200 and like some units, 280 units, right? It's almost a guarantee it's going to be less than what the proposal was at the planning board. Right, meeting the density requirements.
Anyone else like to address the council at this time?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Parker Brown Jr., 247 Summer Street. I'm noticing something that's eerily similar, right? And I'm gonna try to offer some grace because I do believe that genuinely most of you want to do the right thing. But what I'm sensing from my fellow residents is there seems to be a thing that's happening. There's development that's going on and it's happening really quickly, really fast. And I'll give you an example on what I mean by that. There was an ordinance that was passed, and there was I'm paraphrasing, a 20% bonus. First reading was last December council meeting. Then the first one was the first one of the year. I'm not quite sure on what that was, but to me, what it sounded like a bunch of people was going to be overburdening the area and developers was going to get a bonus for that. That's how it read. Now, maybe that could not be it. Maybe it sounds like something completely different. But if you're a person and you're reading that, and say you bought a house like my mom 20-something years ago, and you like, you know what, this one will raise my grandkids and something like that, and all of a sudden, the area just completely changes. Or maybe you bought a place by, I don't know, Third Ward Park somewhere, and now they're about to put arenas. That's not what you bought it for. And then when you come and you say something, you're met with, I don't want to say vagueness, but you're met with, well, the developer owns it and they can do what they want. That's not how, I know that's not how you mean it, but that's how it comes across. So, and I get it. This is an agenda-based thing. There's a time limit. People's feelings are kind of high, so it kind of creates this situation. That's why I've often suggested maybe there's some other mechanism outside of here that's so tense that can create a situation to fully understand what's exactly happening. I know I said it wasn't gonna be long. That's just the best way that I could understand it. That's the only thing I wanted to say about that particular incident. Last thing, who's in charge of traffic signs? Because there's a couple of traffic signs that have not worked, and I wanna make sure that I get that information. It bothers me because it's by schools. And I noticed that when kids are crossing the street, I'm like one of those people that we pay attention to the sign. And there's one on Oak Street in Myrtle, and it hasn't worked for like months. I know we're dealing with snow and stuff, but it hasn't even worked since the summertime. We're now in February. Still doesn't work. Also, the street sign where you cross right by Dunkin' Donuts and you press a little button, that one doesn't work either. Lastly, and I'll leave y'all alone, I'm walking with my nephew, and he's at number 7, taking him to his grandma. The amount of dog poop I know that's like a silly thing to complain about, right? But when you got kids and they trying not to fall all over the snow and you got dog poop too, it's a lot going on. So what mechanism, I mean, I know people having a hard time parking, but that doesn't give people just the excuse to not clean up after their dog. So I don't even know if we got a dog person that goes around. I don't even know whose job that is to do that. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you. Have a good night.
Councilman Knight?
For clarification, which Dunkin' Donuts? Yeah.
Thank you.
Council President, before the next speaker, just the 20% set aside may be referring to the 20% affordable housing requirement development, which is actually just providing affordable units. I believe that's what he was referring to last year, unless there was something else.
We did the rounding up or down at the last meeting. So basically, there was no.
He referred to December last year. That's what he said in December, or did I hear wrong?
Yeah, that was the fraction up or down. So what happens is you always want to give the benefit. You always want to give the benefit to the affordable unit. So what that did is it allowed you, as long as it was affordable, to round up so we can get the unit. If it's a market rate unit, there is no fraction. You get the unit below. But if it's affordable for people in the community, you round up. So that was the clarity. I believe that's what he was talking about, the fraction.
Second, regarding the traffic lights or lights that aren't working, the first point of contact would be our police. You can call the general police number at 973-365-3900 to let them know if there are any issues of public safety, pedestrian crossings, otherwise, and the individuals responsible directly for repairing that would be our DPW. To be our police would direct our Department of Public Works to go out there and resolve the issue. And lastly, with the dogs, which I think is an important issue, and we'll just address it as quickly as possible, is we have put up those doggy stations around the city. What we have noticed, especially during the extreme temperature drop, some who don't want to go out, many of them are opening their doors and allowing the dogs to go out. You've seen as well, and let the dog come back in home alone. Obviously, the dog doesn't know to take a bag with itself and pick it up. We've seen that happen a few times, and perhaps others have gone out, or maybe some parents have sent their kids. You walk the dog now; it's very cold, and they're not going out with bags. We'll share it. Usually, it's our code official that will respond after getting complaints, and we'll let people know that there are violations and tickets that you can receive. So, on that note, that's it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Love, please.
Yes, Council President, I just wanted to point out to Mr. Parker that those meetings he's referring to in terms of out of the council meeting with development projects like that, they take place. They take place, and I will, if you don't mind, Council President, I'll let the business administrator address when and where those take place, those types of development meetings in the community.
Yeah, so they happen multiple times in multiple fashion that we have discussions. I mean, let's just talk about the mayor and his transparency with the public. Every time there's an idea, he puts it out there immediately for everyone to discuss, and then it starts taking shape and it starts taking form. And then all of a sudden it ends up as an ordinance before this city council with a lot of feedback and community input.
But I was really talking more of those community meetings. I know personally there's been meetings right in those areas, either if they're in community centers or whatever, to talk about some of these development projects at times.
Yeah, so I mean, it would depend on the development project and what type of development project it is versus the regular run-of-the-mill planning zoning board application, which then just takes its own life and there's no meetings on it.
Okay.
But I would use this as an example, the amount of community input and public outreach regarding this project itself. It didn't go on deaf ears, right? That's why we're in the process of trying to do something about it, which is the designation to have the discussion and more community input as the process
I think to the councilman's point, and I vividly recall an approach, there were probably two applications, one of a dog park in the War Memorial Park, and one of a development in potential clay courts. And then there've been a couple of developments in our downtown area where I recall community meetings held at the Boathouse. I know council members were invited, where community members voiced their concern, their opposition. Council members came back, expressed to the administration, and of course there was a response. And similarly, so if you're referring to town hall meetings, typically, they're directed by community members, and they'll host a town hall meeting. Sometimes they'll invite council members, and they may come. Council members will attend and appropriately listen, as they can't participate, especially in certain numbers, because the governing aspect of those, I guess, process occurs here. But there have been a number of community and town hall meetings, councilmen, as you're referring to, and they occur throughout the year. And then obviously the planning, the zoning, the redevelopment boards, which are open to the public, and people are invited to attend those as well.
Thank you. As well.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. Yes, sir.
Svi Weissman, 155 High Street. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. What all my fellow residents' concerns, my concerns as well. And I appreciate the time that the City Council is giving us. And so I have a few questions. The first question is, if I understood this correctly, any house over 50 years old could be designated as a redevelopment house. So if I want, I could put my house in a redevelopment. Oh, sorry. Okay, that was one question. The second question was, is there a legal way that the residents could propose the ordinance for the redevelopment? If it comes from us, is there a way that the residents could propose the ordinance for the redevelopment zone? Could we come up with, like we did, right? Like I came here in front of you when we were talking about changing the zoning, and we came up with an ordinance that the city council could adopt. Could we propose an ordinance for this property that the city council would consider? We'll decide. We'll factor in the setbacks and whatnot.
I'll defer to the attorney, but you're free to propose whatever you want to propose to the city council. As a resident, you're allowed to come in and say you want to change an ordinance or you want to change a plan. You can propose what you feel is necessary to propose.
The council, or whichever council member you would speak to, of course, has the right to accept or not to accept the proposal. Ordinances and resolutions generate themselves traditionally from the executive, from the mayor's office, to the council as the legislative body. Obviously, our system of government in this country does not provide for direct democracy per se.
Would it be helpful I know I could do it, but would it be helpful if we propose it and you consider that? Is that something you're welcoming us, or would that be helpful? I should say that. Would that be helpful for the city?
I don't know. I think we'd have to look at the proposal, the basis of the proposal, the rationale for the proposal. It's something that could necessarily be taken very seriously. Whether or not it would go through the necessary process of how it gets proposed is the question. There's only two ways that items are put on the agenda, at the request of the administration or at the request of the council. Both of them determined upon the agreement of the council president to accept or deny. Your first question was, your house is over 50 years old. Is it available for redevelopment? Is that correct, sir?
Yeah.
Mr. Fernandez, my house is of more than 50 years old.
Yes. So the designation would be for the area. In fact,
Can you define the word area, please?
The vicinity, it could be several blocks, it could be the zone. We tend to use the census tract because that's the easiest. So we use the census tract if the house is older than 50 years and they wish to come in with a proposal to do that. It's very similar to what you just described, Council President, right? It has to be accepted. It's a proposal that a resident makes, but maybe an unknown fact to the residents. You're already designated an area in need of rehabilitation. Every single one of you are. But let me explain. Under the state of New Jersey, to receive a 5-year tax abatement for the improvements on your home, you have to be a designated parcel. This administration and this council passed an ordinance, in fact, very recently amended it so that you had a greater opportunity to get it, in which we clearly stated that you are all designated. The city of Passaic is an area in need of rehabilitation, and hence, if you were to do any rehabilitation of your property, adding an addition or something to your house, you can avail yourself of the 5-year tax abatement for that improvement. That is different than a redevelopment plan. That's why I keep saying there's a difference between the designation and the plan. To take you to the plan phase, right, it's a different scenario, right? We would have to negotiate the plan. It's a different type of tax abatement, which is only 5 years. There's no eminent domain, right? In a rehabilitation designation, right? So we're not, right now, the discussion is not taking it to the level of a redevelopment designation, which comes with 30-year tax abatements. It comes with a lot of financial incentives. That's not what we're talking about here. So I understand, because a lot of you did your homework, and we're bringing up very specific sections of the law that do not apply under the circumstances that we're speaking of right now. So to answer your question, you're already designated, and if you do any repairs to your property, you can come in and get a tax abatement for the assessment of that property. Hopefully that answers your question.
Or made it more complex.
It did. I was trying to.
I thought it was a good thing. I just told you how to save money on your taxes. If you could
I did that
improve
already.
your homes and you save some money.
He said he did it already.
Oh, you did? Okay, you know. Okay.
So if I know my fellow residents will be very upset at me, if I want to put 12 townhouses on my property, which I will, I could go, my property, I could come do the exact same process that the developer is doing in our fact pattern.
Yeah, so one of the things that you're missing, and I think Council President said it best, is that going to be accepted? So a single property, for example, if your property is just like everybody else's property, and all of a sudden you want a redevelopment plan for 12 units on that property, separate and apart from the underlying zoning, right? So we're not talking planning board, we're not talking zoning board, we're talking redevelopment process, right? You'd be hard pressed to get anyone to listen to you unless there were extenuating circumstances, like the gas station somebody brought up, right? There may be issues of contamination, and we want to clean the contamination so it doesn't affect the neighbors and stuff like that. Well, those are the properties that were envisioned to be rehabilitated under the law. So I want to make that distinction. Not if you have a perfectly good functioning home there, you don't just get designated. There's always a caveat. In fact, there's one on this evening, right? We have conversations about what was the use? Was it abandoned? What was, right? So it's not just, oh, I want to build 12 townhouses because, I got room here, right?
Gotcha. Lastly, what's in front of the planning board on March 4th, that they're going to decide if it's in need of redevelopment. Could additional properties be added to that plan?
Before the question is answered, I just want to be on the record. I am allowing this conversation beyond the 5 minutes because of its involvement in related areas. Mr. Fernandez, please answer.
So
could additional properties be added at a later point?
It'd have to go through the same process, but yes. So let's say the developer picks up 3 or 4 other properties, they can go through the same process.
At this point, it's not just...
Right now, the designation is just for the parcels that are owned and in control by the developer.
So let's say the developer picks up one more property. Let's say it's my property, because I'm borderline to the property. Are we going to say the same thing, that what's wrong with this property? It's a perfectly fine property, because 3 or 4 properties are perfectly fine properties. A single family house is going for probably close to $1 million. So if you look at each individual property, you could argue that there's no reason, there's no need for redevelopment. Maybe her building needs redevelopment.
So it's interesting you say that, because we'll end where we started. It's the area. So I always use, and I'm a big movie guy, and I have little kids, and Up was like a big movie for them. Everybody saw the movie Up. and he did not want to, everything was developing around him, and he did not want his little house to be developed, and all the high rises are being developed, and then he blew up all the balloons and took his house off, right? The point of the redevelopment statute, right, and doesn't matter designation, redevelopment, or rehabilitation, was so that you can have the opportunity to assemble properties for a meaningful redevelopment. So it actually encourages the collection of properties in a way that would support the overall. So for example, you say right now that property is perfect, right? But one of the biggest complaints is access to the site. So the owner goes and picks up that parcel to accommodate the access to the site, which is meaningful to the overall redevelopment, not just the one specific parcel. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So it's on, and I know it's on a case-by-case basis, it's on a project-by-project basis, you know, so it depends. But could they add? Absolutely. That it happens quite often, actually, that they start with a smaller project. I'll give you an example. One that was done here in the city of Passaic was on Broadway, right? The florist, that little florist was there, and it was abandoned, it was falling apart, and the owner was able to buy it. That's why Mr. Condescendi isn't here, but that's why they didn't demolish the buildings, because they were in the process of assembling the other building to make a bigger project. What I can tell you is if they add an additional lot after the redevelopment plan has passed, they got to come back and do the whole redevelopment plan process again and have another public hearing to the changes of that redevelopment plan. So remember, I know we're focusing on the designation because that's the part we're in. The plan is the ordinance. The plan is the law. The designation is a resolution. I already told you, everybody here is already designated an area in need of rehabilitation. The plan is really, based on what I'm hearing from everybody, that everyone's most concerned about. What's going to go there? But we can't even I can't stress this enough. We can't even have the conversation with the developer until we have the designation, because that allows us to enter into the negotiations and the agreements. Hopefully, I know I expanded a little bit, but I wanted everybody to get the full picture of kind of what's happening.
Thank you.
Good. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Seeing no hands, is there a motion, please, to close public hearing? Yes. Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez, and Council President Chair.
Yes, thank you. We are on the agenda. Roman numeral 6, ordinances for second and final reading. Hearing is required. Number 1, excuse me. Proposed ordinance 2510-26, an ordinance amending Chapter 317 zoning, Article 3 definitions and word usage, section of 317-10, definitions, Article 6, conditional uses, section 317-16, all zones, and Article 4, schedule of regulations, section 317-11, adoption of schedule of the City of Passaic Code to permit short-term rental units in all zoning districts. Mr. Fernandez, I know this one appears to be of similar duration as the one we just got off, so why don't you help us to understand that, please? What are we doing in this?
This is ordinance number 3. See, I turned on the mic weatherly, so you didn't have to tell me. So this is, this is ordinance number 3 in the Airbnb process. So we discussed the registration, we discussed the taxes, right? Those were the 2 ordinances that the council passed at last meeting. This one is the uses, where it's allowed. Okay.
Forgive me, where what is allowed?
The short-term rentals, the Airbnb types. So kind of a la the conversation we were just having, right? What's being proposed is that these Airbnb styles, let's call them Airbnb, even though there's a bunch of different names like Verbo and stuff that do the short-term rental. that there's 11 conditions that have to be met before you can be an actual short-term rental. One of them is it can only be in a single-family townhouse or condominium. And number two is that it has to be owner-occupied and be your primary residence. So that was a big conversation at last meeting, and I want to assure the council, and I promised you when this ordinance came before you, it would answer. So collectively, those three ordinances create the protection for the city on these Airbnbs and sets the regulations for individuals who want to do it correctly. So that's it in a nutshell.
Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second to open public hearing.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the council is deliberating proposed ordinance 2510-26. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing nobody, motion to close.
Second.
Motion and second to close. Roll call to close, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, please, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please, on the ordinance.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. That passes the
Yes, sir.
ordinance unanimously. Number two, please, proposed ordinance 2511-26. An ordinance adopting a redevelopment plan for Block 4108, Lot 64, corresponding to 185 Lexington Avenue in the city of Passaic, New Jersey. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council is deliberating proposed ordinance 2511-26. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Motion to close.
Second.
Roll call to close.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, please, is there a motion?
So move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call on the ordinance.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're on number three now.
Yes, sir.
We're on proposed ordinance 2514-26, an ordinance amending the designation restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the council is deliberating proposed ordinance 2514. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
There's a motion. There is a second. Roll call, please, to close public portion. We just closed public portion.
We didn't get a second. Oh, I
We
did.
didn't get a
Second.
second. I'm sorry. There is a second.
Thank you.
On the,
Got a
Roll call. Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
yes, thank you. That was on the ordinance, correct?
That was closing.
On the ordinance, is there a motion, please, to accept?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
and second on the ordinance.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. That was on the
Yes,
ordinance.
sir.
We're on number four, please. Proposed ordinance 2515-26. An ordinance amending Chapter 100, Certificates of Occupancy and Tenancy, Section 10, Fees of the Code of the City of Passaic to adjust certificate of occupancy fees Mr. Fernandez, can you help us with this one, please? I see the word fees and I get goosebumps.
So basically, we have not touched our inspection fees under the construction department for a very, very long time. This would increase it to be still below the consistent. I'm sorry, I forgot the button. So we haven't changed the ordinance in a very long time. This is to get us at least more consistent with our neighbors, even though we're still significantly below our neighbors. For example, the city of Clifton is in, $300 as an additional fee for expedited, certificate. We're not there. So this does a modest increase from $50 to $65 for the first unit, and then $35 from the second through the 20th, and then $25 thereafter. So it's only like a modest increase to what it is by like $10, $15.
Why is it so modest, if I may ask? Why are we so much lower than our neighbors?
Well, this is for an expedited certificate of occupancy. So our neighbors are somewhere in the neighborhood of like 95, 75, right?
And this
We're
will
at
take
like
us-
65.
And this will take us from what to what?
This will take us from 50 to 65.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on number 4?
Yes, I do.
Councilman Love.
In all due respect, Mr. Fernandez, is the goal to get to our neighbors, or are we accomplishing something with the increase in fees?
So we're trying to so what happens with the fees is the fees are developed as a cost for the process. So we have to pay our inspectors to go out there. Employees get salary increases, cost of living increases, the fees stay the same. And at some point, we want to be helpful and we don't want to overburden the community, but at some point, the cost of living has just exceeded, what the current fee structure is. And that's all this is. Right? And we also provide a new service that we've been providing under the mayor's direction has been we've allowed weekends as well. So we're making it more flexible for the community to get the inspections done when they need them. That costs us more, right? And I think to be able to do that and only go up $15 is a good thing. We're just covering the cost. We don't want to, overburden the community. So,
Mr. Business Administrator, I'm fully aware of it, but sometimes we got to get it on the record to the public so that they don't hear that we're raising to get to where our neighbors are. Rather, there's a purpose of raising. So that's why I asked
there's
the
a
question.
purpose.
All right.
And it's been roughly over 20 years since this has been updated, just so you get a feel for where our fee was and how long it took us to raise the fee.
Absolutely. Understandable.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Business Administrator. Any other questions on 4? We opened public hearing on 4, did we?
No, sir.
No.
Is there a motion, please, to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second on open hearing on 2515-26.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez, and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the council is deliberating proposed ordinance 2515. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing nobody, motion to close.
Second.
Motion and second to close.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez, and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, please, is there a motion?
Move.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, on the ordinance.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez, and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to number 5, please. Proposed ordinance 2516, an ordinance authorizing the exchange of real property between the city of Passaic and the Passaic Board of Education pursuant to NJSA 1040A:12-16. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Move.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Abstain.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council will be deliberating proposed ordinance 2516. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second to close public hearing. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Abstain.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, the,
So move on, the ordinance.
now we're on the ordinance. Is there a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion. And
Second.
And may we have a second, please? Thank you.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Abstain.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes.
Yes, sir.
We're up to communications, items 6 through 9. Are there any questions on items 6 through 9? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept 6 through 9?
So moved.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. All matters listed here under considered routine in nature, items 10 through 21 inclusive. Are there any questions, please, on 10 through 21?
Sir, 16,
10 through 17, I apologize.
16.
10 through 16, I apologize, forgive me.
Council President, just a comment to the mayor, in terms of, item 10. What a great guy that you appointed, Dubak. All right, and I just want to say thank you. One of my classmates, I think he's going to do very well in this position, as he did when he was on the force. So thank you.
I thank you for that, but I really want to take the opportunity to highlight our Chief of Police, Louis Guzman, who has maintained great relationships with officers who have genuinely dedicated their lives to serving our residents. And when they retire, they come back in the appropriate time and are able to serve in a new capacity. And you're right, he's one of the more likable officers that we have. He treats people with a great deal of respect.
I wouldn't go that far, Mayor.
That's a little too much.
I mean, he's all right. But
You say that because you have a good relationship with him.
know
and
it,
the family,
of
of course, says that. But I did want to share that because we've had a number of retired officers, and we're always excited because obviously there is a savings. There's a public safety benefit to have these individuals, especially whether they're in our UEZ zone, they're on the streets, or they're assisting with particular activities. But I think it's going to mean a lot to him to know that the council was so appreciative because sometimes we lose individuals. When I say lose, and I know what that connotes, they retire.
Yes.
God bless them. They deserve to be able to retire. They reach the point of their career where they can, but many of them choose to want to continue to serve in possibly a lesser capacity. And that's not in status or commitment or dedication, but rather commitment of hours sometimes or obligations. And this is a wonderful opportunity. I thank the council in general for making these things available.
Thank you.
thank you, Mayor. Is there a motion, please, to accept 10 through 16?
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, on 10 through 16.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. We're up to resolutions, Roman numeral 8 on our agenda. Number 17 is a resolution authorizing closed executive session. Mr. Matson, we don't need closed executive session, do we? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Mr. Mayor, sir?
And at this time.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council? Very good. If we could look, please, if I could draw your eye to 18 through 21. Are there any questions, please, on 18 through 21? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept 18 through 21?
So move.
Motion and second.
Councilman Monk,
Can I just, Council
Councilman,
President?
we're in the middle of a roll call, Councilman?
Okay, I couldn't unmute my button fast enough. I just wanted to ask regarding resolution 20.
Yes, sir.
Exactly, what are these pavers? What's the purpose of these pavers?
So they're commemorative pavers, so that we can honor Latona Griffin in the Latona Griffin Park. There were 2 firefighters that passed. And the idea, Mayor, I think that was your idea, to have the pavers, you can buy a paver and it's going to have the seal, like the fire department seal in the center of it. And, you can donate to buy a paver. And it's paid, the paver itself without the engraving, because you are the one that pays for the engraving, is all coming from CDBG.
Just to clarify, Councilman, that's at the top of the 100 steps. And that's where we had the fitness park, but also that park where we chose to honor those firefighters and the family. It was so appreciative. We went down there and had a ceremony, and we said we would not only put a memorial to both of the firefighters, but give an opportunity for the community in the area that was so excited that we were able to renovate the steps and add their first park ever in the area, that they can actually buy one of the pavers or rather engrave an appropriate message honoring the history in that area.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Council President. My vote is yes.
Thank you, sir. If we could continue with the roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're on number 9, please. Payment of bills. Are there any questions on the bills as presented by the administration to the clerk? Seeing no lights, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills as presented?
Move it.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please. Thank you.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez, and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. Administrators report, Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Council President, one, if I may, and I know that Councilman Love had wanted this shared in the very beginning. We know that there was a passing relation of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Obviously, there was an expression that Councilman Dr. Terrence Love wanted to have a moment of silence.
Moment of silence.
Sorry, Councilman Love.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor.
And Council President, for me, I also wanted to remind all of our residents that, interesting enough, I don't know how interesting, but as we go into this evening, there are 3 major communities that will be observing either sacred and religious parts of their faith, as well as celebrations. I believe the Ramadan begins as of this evening, as does Lent for the Catholic observing community, and it is the Chinese New Year. I believe that is this evening, so I think it's the year of the horse. That's what I've been told. I'm not very familiar, but that's what I've been told. So with these things, and obviously on behalf of the council, and we post up these files, thank you, Renee, for making sure that we have these displayed. We obviously express our unity to all of our communities because we are a diverse and remarkable city, and to all those that observe, whether those of the Muslim faith who will be fasting, those of the Catholic faith that will be sacrificing, whatever it is, including meat or a specific treat during this time. We join with you in prayers or our thoughts that we may all continue united as a community and respecting each other's beliefs, and to our community that celebrates their New Year. I believe it's New Year, right? It's the Chinese New Year. Congratulations, and we celebrate along with you in this time with our diversity. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. The council, of course, joins with you in acknowledging these very important days on all of our calendars. There being no other business as being properly advertised, necessarily so, is there a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Motion and second to adjourn. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.